On today's show, the San Diego Padres having basically as horrid a day of baseball as you could possibly have, with not just Dylan Cease having possibly the worst start of his career against the A's, but also injuries to Jackson Merrill, Jay Cronenworth, and Fernando Tatis Jr. How's that for an intro?
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Wednesday, April 9th. As always, I'm your host with sometimes, occasionally, but certainly not always the most, Javier Reyes. You can follow me on Twitter /X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO, and feel free to follow me as well on TikTok, JAVIOOS, for little updates and short form content about all things baseball and me just being a weirdo with my buddy Stitch too. That's kind of been my bit. He's been on there with me, so he's doing good. Today's episode, guys, though, is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Man. Look, this past weekend was one of the worst Padres games in a vacuum that they had all season, right? The Padres got absolutely trounced. They got a little bit unlucky with some batted ball stuff, don't get me wrong, but all in all, they got beaten pretty bad, some bad defense, right? You also had the Kyle Hart start, wasn't great, but this day takes the cake, folks. Dylan Cease, horrible start. Jackson Merrill, Jake Cronenworth, and Fernando Tatis Jr. all hurt. Wow. Like a truly horrible day for the Padres, and there's so much to get into. At the time that I'm recording this, which is very, 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 very late at night, I don't have full updates on everything, but we're going to recap as much as we can, and I might even recap yesterday's game, which I didn't do, of course, because I was talking with Booney, previewing the series. Everybody go check that out, yesterday's crossover, but I might do that just to give a little bit of light, a little bit of levity on this podcast. It's not going to be a happy one, folks, but it will be one filled with at least reactions. And I know y'all like to see me squirm every now and then. So without further ado, let's get started first and talk about Dylan Cease, who had one of the worst starts of his career. As AJ Casavel of MLB.com noted, Dylan Cease allowed 9 runs, matching a career high, and that was just through 3 innings. He actually allowed 9 runs through 2 innings in this one. He was just getting absolutely bio-obliterated, folks. Like, this guy gave up 9 runs and he only gotten 2 outs, right? And it was just all over the place. And what's funny is that this game, very similar to Sunday's game, it started off great for the Padres. They took a lead in the beginning, and same thing as that Sunday game, it just immediately fell apart with one of the worst starting pitching performances you'll see. In that previous case, it was Kyle Hart, right? A guy who's making his way back to Major League Baseball, and you're saying, okay, what's going to happen exactly with this guy? So don't get me wrong, that's still awful by any standards, even if it is a guy who's still trying to, make his way back into the league. But then Dylan Cease, a potential Cy Young candidate, a guy who's probably going to get $200 million plus this offseason, gets absolutely trounced in this one. Firstly, let me just tell you the first inning, because again, not much happiness going to be going on in this game, right? But do you want to give a shout out to Manny Machado? He does hit a home run in this game. That was dope. Love to see that. His first of the season. He was due. I thought that it was going to come at some point, but shouts to him anyway. Hardest hit ball of the night, 105.1 miles per hour off the bat. He killed it. The bat speed was there. He's looked awesome so far. It wasn't lucky, right? And we're going to be talking about like home runs and all that stuff. 30 out of 30, according to Baseball Savant. This would be a home run in all ballparks. So awesome shot by him. He's looked really, really dang good to start the season, frankly. Like, just to be as positive as possible, like, he's been awesome. And I think that with Manny Machado, it's important to know that he just has not shown signs of anything really getting horribly wrong. Remember that last year, his first 2 months, he was recovering from his injury, right? From the surgery that he got that was also potentially affecting him in 2023. And then he was awesome rest of the way. Well, he's been awesome so far. And finally, you saw it come fully through with the home run. He also had a big RBI in Monday's game as well, but we'll talk about that potentially later. We're starting to see Manny Machado rake, and he might have to rake even more given the events of last night's game. And it's funny because something's wrong when Yuli Gurriel comes up and drives an RBI double to bring in Xander Bogaerts, who, by the way, also had another really hard hit ball. It was the One, two, three, four, five, six hardest hit ball of the night, 101.7 miles per hour off the bat. So that's really good for Bogaerts, right? Love to see that. He's been swinging the bat a little bit pretty good lately, ripping some singles. He also had a double in Monday's game, right? So absolutely love to see that. And love to see that Gurriel finally did something, right? Gurriel is a player that we kind of were looking at as potentially being a guy that needs to be sent down. Frankly, right? Like that's kind of what we were looking at with Yuli Gurriel, a guy who was swinging at pitches that were way above the zone and then swinging down on pitches and making contact. But it's like, who cares? The launch angle on that is probably like negative 20,000, right? So he hadn't really done anything. It's his second basically hit of the season. It was a nice double, brings in Bogaerts, and then you get Jose Iglesias reaching on Gio Urshela's throwing error, allowing Yuri Gurriel to score from third, right? Like that was really wild, and it looked like Tyler Soderstrom was going to get hurt on that, by the way, but he does not, thankfully. And that's it in terms of positivity, basically. Starting off 3-0, I cannot emphasize, that's what I really was, it was such a reminder of Sunday's game, right? You start off 3-0, you're like, wow, this is great, especially against a team that has weaknesses in this area, where in the case of the Cubs, it's, wow, we're already getting to their starter, and we know the Cubs have a problem with their bullpen, so this could be great. And then you have the situation with the A's where it's like, forget the Stars, it's just not the best pitching team in this case, especially with Jeffrey Springs, being a lefty. I get it. That was still concerning getting into the series for me, but you're still hopeful, and you start off 3-0 with some mistakes by them, and you're all in. And what happens? Hit after hit after hit after hit off of this guy, right? Like Dylan Cease, easily one of the worst starts of his career. I already mentioned the AJ Cassavell tweet. Like, I just, wow. Just a true wow moment for the Padres here. And don't get me wrong, like I don't want to turn this into a Dylan Cease stinks now and we start regurgitating the same sort of debates that we've had throughout the offseason. But it's hard to say. I mean, Lawrence Butler gets a single. Tyler Soderstrom draws a walk. Then Shea Langler lines out and we're like, okay, we're going to be all right. Right? You know what I mean? And then what happens? JJ Bleday hits a double. Miguel Andujar hits a single. Jacob Wilson hits a single. Gio Urshela hits a double. Max Muncy hits a single as well. Like, it was like a lot of hits. He was just getting slapped all over the place, and he wasn't getting any whiffs, nothing. All of his pitches were outside the zone. Guys were just killing him, right? Like, guys were just absolutely killing him in this one. And after he gets through that first inning, giving up 6 runs, right? Like, potentially one of his worst starts of his career already. Then he comes back in the bottom of the third without getting any outs, gives up a walk, then a single to Miguel Andujar, then a single to Jacob Wilson, and then a double to Gio Urshela, right? Like, just a nightmarish start for Dylan Cease. And there's probably people wondering, like, well, Javi, like, hey, this is a guy who's had a bloated ERA before. Like, should we be worried at all? Dylan Cease has not exactly been incredible to start the season. And I get that. That is totally fair and is worth pointing out. Now, am I freaking out about Dylan Cease? Not necessarily, because I will say, right, is that he was pretty great in his last start against a decent Cleveland team, not a great one, and he was okay in his opening day game, right? 4 1/3, he struck out 7. He did give up 3 earned runs, but those 3 earned runs, 2 of them came off a home run shot from Jared Kelenic, right? Or Jared Kelenic. I know from the comments that were making fun of me from last time, and that was just like one kind of bad moment. Not the best day for Cease, right? He bounces back against Cleveland, and then he gives up this awful start. I will say this. We mentioned the Manny Machado home run, and then later on in the game, by the way, there is one more home run. I believe, is it by Brent Rooker? I forgot who the last home run is by. No, JJ Bleday. 18 home runs in a little bit more than 40 innings allowed so far at Sacramento. Like, the ball is flying out of the yard. That being said, though, a lot of the damage against Cease was not off of home run stuff. And I thought it was also interesting in this game that he basically abandoned his pitch usage that we've been talking about through his start so far, which is, can he add a third pitch? Well, he did not do that. It was all fastball slider, and none of them were working. They didn't have the break. They were all in the middle of the plate. 2 whiffs on this fastball, 4 whiffs on the slider. Like, he had his moments at points, like he was still able to get a couple strikeouts, but he was not using his changeup. Only 6 changeups last night, only 5 sinkers, 3 sweepers, and 2 knuckle curves. Like, he just went all fastball slider, and it just fell apart for him. So I raised this point on yesterday's episode, which is it possible that Dylan Cease is going to just go back to this, and maybe he doesn't want to tinker too much with his pitching repertoire, especially when he doesn't feel confident throwing these pitches a lot? They don't necessarily have the best movement on them. They don't necessarily have the best overall stuff plus, dare I say, on them in a contract year. That is totally possible that maybe he's like, you know what? I'll still throw a third pitch. But I'm not going to be like going out of my way, out of my comfort zone, because bottom line is it's a contract year for Dylan Cease. But that aside, I think that the home runs are flying out of the place, but that doesn't excuse the Dylan Cease start. But I think more importantly would probably be like, was he tipping pitches? That's totally possible. Or was it just the high altitude in Sacramento, from what I've heard, which is like, I've actually heard that it's a little bit like Coors Field to that degree. So, I mean, as evidenced by the home runs, right? So that could be an explanation, but either way, Dylan Cease's next start immediately becomes a lot more interesting. Just being like, all right, I'd like to see the real Dylan Cease now, please. And don't get me wrong, he's had these moments before, but I want to see the real Dylan Cease. We're going to talk about some other things throughout the rest of the game, all the misery that transpired, guys, in just a second, but we got to, of course, take a second to talk about one of our sponsors. And what is one of our sponsors, you may be asking? Well, let me just tell you, it is a wonderful one, unlike last night's game, and it is the good folks over at Wonderful Pistachios, folks, because if you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, you just got to crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios, one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you feel fuller longer. Personally, I like the no shells variety as well. Nice little grab and go snack for busy days. And sometimes I just like the cracking open of the thing. It's very satisfying. It satisfies my urge to just do something with my hands sometimes. Seriously, I know that like might not be, something universal for everybody, but for me it works. And they've got some more honey roasted type of flavors. They've got some extra spicy flavors out there on top of the no shells variety. So folks, what are you waiting for? It's really great. It's really great. Get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And just like that, everybody, we are back thriving and vibing. Not really, actually. I don't know why I'm saying that. Into the second segment of this show. Remember to go check me out at LO_Padres on Twitter, as well as my own personal handle at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO, on Twitter/X and Blue Sky to reach out for me on your thoughts. Someone actually reached out, Mike P, asking, like, what do you think about Cease so far? Again, I really think that this next start, I'm a lot more curious now. I'm willing to say first start, opening day. Michael King also didn't look good on opening day. And you know what? He was still pretty good in that opening start. He just had the one home run. I really think that start looks a lot better if he doesn't give up a home run. Was pretty good against Cleveland as well, right? Only gave up 1 earned run in them. And then also in this game, altitude, maybe tipping pitches type of thing was going on here. I don't know for sure, but I would say it's more maybe the altitude stuff and just, the ball carrying in some ways. I'm not freaking out totally. It's not the worst A's team ever either, by the way. But next start, I'd like to see a little bit of something. But I will say that overall, Dylan Cease, we have talked about this. He's prone to having these blow up games. I still remember last year, in the midst of the Padres like really struggling, he got in there and just got blown up by the Mets, like giving up home run after home run. So like he does have these moments where he's quite bad and his ERA can be bloated, which is one of the reasons I talked about him this year heading into the season, that I wouldn't be surprised, right? I would be a little bit more surprised if Michael King's ERA was a lot higher, right? I think it could have a little bit of a regression from last year. But Dylan Cease, it's possible that he just has those games where the slider is just not able to make up for the fastball just being way too straight and just not providing as much rise as he would like and giving up too many home runs. Maybe he walks more batters than usual, whatever, right? I'm still optimistic. I still think he could be very good. But man, that was a rough start. But that wasn't it, unfortunately. That's crazy, right? We had 3 injuries yesterday. First of all, Jackson Merrill heading to the IL with a hamstring sort of injury. The Padres say that they were just erring on the side of comfort, right? But he is on the IL for at least the next 10 days. So he's going to miss at least his next 7 games or so for the Padres, which is unfortunate. The team seems optimistic that he won't be out for too long, but because they're saying, hey, it's a long season, right? Like, it's going to be a really long season. We don't want to risk anything with this guy. This guy is part of our duo, right? We're hoping that he's okay. But nonetheless, I understand why people are freaking out and are annoyed, right? But overall, to me, I see this as just like an unfortunate thing, right? He's walking fine, according to Kevin Acee, but the recovery is not progressing as quickly as hoped. they're choosing caution, obviously, for a long season. That makes sense, but it is a little bit frustrating. But I don't think that this is like, this guy's done, right? Like, we don't have to freak out about it. It's just really unfortunate that it happened because he had a great game on Sunday, right? And he had a great, moment on Monday as well. Like, this has been a really great player for this team. 3 home runs already, and then he heads to the IL. Well, it didn't just end there. And we actually, over the course of recording this podcast, did get some updates from AJ Casaval of MLB.com. But let me just repeat them real quick. Fernando Tatis Jr. exited the game. He headed to the center field clubhouse and all that stuff after a swing. And this one was scary because for Tatis, people may remember 2021 when he swung at the ball and he just grabbed his shoulder in pain. Now, this wasn't that crazy, right? But you might just hear Tatis' shoulder and you're like, oh man, I remember this already. And it's scary, right? This has been the big question with Tatis is, can he stay healthy? And this year, he's looked so totally back, right? Like, he's looked like the version of himself that we have come to know and love, what made him a superstar in the first place, especially from 2020 to 2021, right? And he gets hurt on the swing. So that doesn't exactly inspire a lot of faith for people who are a little bit more cynical in terms of his regards and his abilities, I should say, to stay healthy. And then Jay Cronenworth swings at a ball, and it looked weird. I don't really know what happened with Jay Cronenworth. It was very, very odd. It just seems like he grabbed his leg, and it's funny because the A's actually messed up the throw to first base. So like technically, if Cronenworth had been running, maybe he would have been safe. But he doesn't even run there. They have to take him out of the game. And that results in the Padres actually having to use Jose Iglesias in left field, the outfield, for the first time in his career. Again, last night was just dumb, guys. What can I say? Like, it was just an absolute dumb, just coalescence of events that occurred, and it was nightmarish. It really was. I will say we did get a couple updates on the injuries. First, in regards to Jake Cronenworth, this from AJ Casaval of MLB.com, who I've been reading for a lot, by the way, in today's episode. The Cronenworth injury is cramping he experienced as the result of the contusion from Sunday's hit by pitch. Mike Schultz said the team is hopeful it's nothing more and isn't too serious. Both Cronenworth and Tatis likely out through Thursday's off day at least, though. And in terms of Tatis, that he said it's left shoulder discomfort for Fernando Tatis Jr., according to Mike Schilt, adding that thus far Tatis is checking out medically. We erred on the side of caution and will evaluate. So a little bit of positive news in that regard. And also, Cronenworth said, I think I should be good to go for Friday. So that's good. This is really, really good news, right? Like, because the last thing you need is these guys really getting hurt. Cramping type of thing. It sounds like, you know what it sounds like to me? Cronenworth is just a little beat up. You know what I mean? This kind of happens. Not to use like what I feel like is often associated with, say, football, right? Where guys are like, they're beat up a little bit. It's a long season. That's what sounds like to Cronenworth with the hit by pitch. I remember that, right? Like, that hit by pitch really, really hurt him. It clearly was a lot of pain that he was in on Sunday's game, you know, right in the kidney, as Don called during the game for the broadcast for people who are listening. I am hopeful that that's all this is. And I think that they're going to probably leave them out of, when you guys are listening to this, today's game, and I'm totally okay with that. Hopefully the rest of the lineup can step up. It's going to be hard, but Machado, Arise, Bogarts, can they do enough maybe in this start? Hopefully, but it is pretty rough that Dylan Cease just completely screwed them and the offense in this game. And then for Tatis, they're probably going to err even more cautiously, right? Like, this is a guy who's been hurt a lot with shoulder discomfort. That makes you scared, right? We'll see how it goes. He says we checked out medically. We'll see. I don't know, because with Tatis, his health has always been a question. It's always been a question, and it stinks because this year especially, he's been awesome, man. Like, genuinely awesome. I mean, unbelievable. Like, this is a team that still has a good record. Let me be very clear. Like, this is a very, very good start for the team this year, sitting at an imposing record. Wait, what the heck is their record? Is it 9-3 now? Am I getting that right? It's 9-3 now, right? Yeah, 9-3. Top of the NL West, technically. Like, they've had such an amazing start this season, but nonetheless, for you to have the Jackson Merrill injury, that puts him on the IL. He's going to miss the next bunch of games. And by the way, I think this matters a lot for this team because this is a team that still has some depth issues. I would not be surprised, depending on what happens with Tatis, I would not be surprised if we see right? We already saw Brandon Lockridge have to move to center field. The starting outfield of Jason Heyward, Brandon Lockridge, Brandon Lockridge, and Jose Iglesias, like not exactly great. Doesn't inspire a lot of confidence if you're this team. And obviously Iglesias ended up moving to left field. I'm talking about it's probably going to be Oscar Gonzalez, who was called up yesterday, but that is pretty gross. Like that is not great, right? So hopefully none of these injuries are all that serious and they'll get them back soon. It is a long season, but for a Padres team that's very top heavy in a lot of ways, and a Padres team that's so far the bottom of their lineup has not been exceptional. They've gotten some production, obviously, of our Lord and Savior, the Saint, the new High Priest, Mr. Gavin Sheets. All that considered, this has still been a team that has a lot of questions and the depth isn't already like all there, right? So if Jay Cronenworth is coming back, that's one thing. But if Tatis is out for a while and Jackson Merrill is out for a while, we'll have to see, because that might mean that we'll see, say, Tirso and Ellis get called up. Maybe Eggy Rosario comes called up. And no, I am still not off the Eggy Rosario thing. I don't care if Yuli Gurriel had an RBI double. I mean, I care. It's great. Maybe he can use this to propel himself further in these spots that he's been given. But overall, he's looked pretty bad. And I think that the Padres at some point are going to have to start calling up some of their minor league players instead of relying on these, unfortunately, guys that are a little bit washed up, type of veterans, right? Remember Robinson Cano when they had to bring him in? That was, I don't know, wild, right? But we'll have to see, guys. We'll have to see. But we're not going to end the show on all of a negative note. I want to talk about Monday's game as well before we close this bad boy out. But first, one more sponsor. And that one more sponsor, of course, is the one that you heard at the top of the podcast. And that is our friends over at, which one? It's the one that lets you know, where did your money go? Monarch Money, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can check all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. There's a bunch of surprising insights. You realize just how much you're spending, like me, on food delivery, right? And now I budget smarter and save more, all in one convenience as well. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, just track your spending, and even, kind of set like your long-term goals and whatnot. Just plan that stuff ahead of time. And it's just has it all. Nice and neat in one place, right? And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Go on and check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back, hopefully thriving into this final segment of the show, and on a little bit of a lighter note, I guess, because, wow, I can't get over that. Merrill IL, Dylan Cease's worst start of his career, Tatis and Cronenworth also hurt, like, just, wow, just really bad early season start, early season L, I should say, not start, team's still been good. Let's talk about Monday's game really quickly, just to end on a little bit of a higher note. In this game, the Padres end up winning by a score of 5-4, thanks to not just Mr. Manny Machado, right, but also Jay Cronenworth. He hits a home run in this game in the top of the first inning that allows Manny Machado to score, who hit a deep double in this one, by the way. Look, Machado, we love him so much, right? Like, this guy's been an absolute beast. I will say that we had some really hard hit balls for Manny Machado, and that does deserve to be discussed, because not only does he hit two doubles, he hit them really hard, right? We love this very much from our guy Manny. In yesterday's game, Monday's game, right? He had a ground out that was 106.5 miles per hour off the bat. He had a line out that was 101.1 miles per hour off the bat. He also had the double, which allowed a run to score right early on, and he also had the double early on. That wasn't particularly hit very hard, but he had two doubles in this game, and then the other two hits that weren't hits, right? Ground out with a 430 expected batting average, and a line out with a 660 expected batting average. Like, Machado was killing it on Monday, right? Hopefully he's entering that stage, especially with maybe these guys being out for the foreseeable future, or at least, well, that was a little bit strong, my bad, not foreseeable future, but at least for the next few days. maybe he's going to be on a hot streak at like the perfect time. So we could hope for that. And Jay Cronenworth hitting that home run. Cronenworth has looked good this year. He's pulling the ball in the air a lot more, by the way, to that left side, to his right side, the right field porch, right? That's cool. That's cool. He's pulling the ball a lot more this year. And if he could tap into more power, I mean, he's hit 22 home runs. He's hit 20 home runs before. Could he do it again? I don't know. But all I know is I've been very optimistic about him. I think he's going to hit a little bit better against lefties this year. It's still going to be something he struggles against compared to righties, but not to the point where he's a liability like he was last year. All of his career numbers suggest that he'll hit better against lefties. And if he can tap into a little bit more power, conveniently, when he goes back to his real position of second base, play some good defense. He's had a couple blips this year, but mostly has made a lot of really great plays. I think we're looking at a quietly really great season for Jay Cronenworth. There is a reason that teams were starting to actually inquire about his trade availability, despite the fact that he has that multi-year contract that I think a lot of people are scared about. I think other teams are like, that's fine. That's fine. Because you guys are using him at first. He's not getting his full value there. But whatever. Jay Cronenworth hitting the home run in this one as well. And then you get a Tatis moonshot in this game in the top of the 7th inning. That gives them a 2-run lead. Went 414 feet, apparently. Tatis said, cat, man. That went so much farther. He absolutely creamed that damn ball, man. And it's crazy that it was only the third hardest hit ball of the night. Tyler Soderstrom's home run in the 3rd inning was actually hit harder, and Shea Langmuir's actually hit a single that was a lot harder as well. But all I know is I thought that Tatis hit was like, oh, it was so satisfying. It really was. Home run in 30 out of 30 ballparks compared to Soderstrom. His was 25 out of 30 ballparks, right? But absolute moonshot for him. Please stay healthy. Please don't tell me this is a bad thing. I think Cronenworth, based off of those comments, I bet he's going to be fine. They're just going to be like, all right, maybe you're off tomorrow. Maybe Iglesias can play second base. We'll see what the lineup looks like, when we get closer to game time, since it is like 1:30 for me right now. I'm not going to be able to see that, but really excited about that. And hopefully Tatis, please stay healthy, man. We love him so much. He looks so good. It's not just he's playing well. He looks like the Tatis again. He really, really does. But you know who isn't totally looking fully like themselves just yet? Michael King doesn't have the best start in this one, right? He wasn't terrible, but he kind of just works his way into and out of trouble a lot in this one. And he does give up a Tyler Soderstrom bomb in this game, as mentioned before, the hardest hit ball of the night. And he gives up a Max Muncy double and a Lawrence Butler single that kind of brings the A's back into the game, despite the Padres taking an early 4-0 lead. But it's okay. Overall, it wasn't the best start in the world, right? It wasn't for Michael King. But 5 2/3, 3 earned runs on 8 hits, 2 walks, 2 Ks, not the best again. And he didn't generate a lot of whiffs on this one, at least with his typical stuff. His slider, he generated 4 on 8 swings. His changeup, he generated 3 on 10 swings. Those are some of his better pitches, right? Like, let's be clear. Like, this man was generating a whiff rate and a half last year on some of these pitches, right? And I'm curious to see, like, look, remember that I said, and I've been saying a lot, is that Michael King last year was figuring out his pitch mix a lot. Like, he really was. And I'm wondering if he's actually going to use his slider a little bit more, because that was actually his batters whiffed on half of them last year. Didn't throw it too much, but they whiffed on like half of them, right? So, I'm sorry, not half of them. They whiffed on, what was it? 28.4%. They're whiffing on half of them this year. My mistake, guys. But last year, I think that you saw that was a pretty effective pitch in certain scenarios. His sinker also used a lot in this game. I just think it's going to take some time. And I think that this ballpark, if we're going to be scared about Cease, look at Michael King. Like, this might just be low-key becoming the new Coors Field, right, for the foreseeable future in Sacramento, right? Like, it's totally possible that that's happening here. And again, as I've discussed many times on the show, with Michael King being a guy who's not necessarily been pitching as a full-time starter for like 4 years or anything like that. Last year was his first time being like, you are a starter, you're the number 3 guy, you're getting a workload. Like, maybe he's still working on some things, getting into the swing of things. He's a little bit harder to judge. You know what I mean? He's a little bit harder of a guy to judge in terms of what the early season stuff could mean. But I didn't see anything that alarmed me. You know what I mean? I didn't see a noticeable sort of dip in anything in his velocity. It was basically the same as we're used to. Changeup was a little bit down, but it's a changeup, so that's different. I just think that he looked fine. The spin rate was fine. I think it looked great. What I do want to talk about, though, before we officially conclude, one last thing in terms of the good signs, right? My God, is this Padres bullpen good, folks? My Lord. 5-4 game, right? All 4 runs given up. 3 runs, I'm sorry, given up by Michael King, and then 1 run given up by our guy, by the way. Our guy, Jeremiah Estrada, gives up a home run. I know, weird, right? Genuinely shocking, and that's when you know this guy's good. Whenever people make contact off of Jeremiah Estrada, you're like, whoa, the heck, right? But he comes in, doesn't get blown up or anything like that. Jason Adam comes in, he's still very good, and then Robert Suarez comes in, throws heater after heater after heater. He looked ice, by the way, Robert Suarez. I want to point that out because as people have been rightfully critical of me, I was a little bit like, hey, if there's going to be a guy that regresses this year, one of my bold predictions was that Yuki Matsui would end up being the best guy in the Padres bullpen. I just want to reassert my thing that I do not think Robert Suarez is going to fall apart. I did say he could regress, right? Because his velo dropped off in the second half. You saw that his ERA bloated in the second half, but he can still do really good stuff, right? I still think that he could be great. He has looked better than usual, though. I actually think I've seen things with him. He looks confident as hell. And I think that this is a part where maybe I read a little bit too much into stats with Robert Suarez. It's possible that I did, right? Because so far, the guy he just comes at guys. Like just right down the middle, generating 2 whiffs on his fastball, going 100 miles an hour. Like the changeup too. I mean, so far, he's looked really, really, really good. Look, here's the thing. Here's how I'll put it. If he's generating more whiffs than he was last year, which, by the way, low-key didn't, right? Like, he wasn't generating that much. He was in the 40th percentile in whiff rate last year. So far, he's in the 94th percentile in strikeout rate and 89th percentile in whiff rate. Again, super small sample size, but I love the confidence, man. Like, this is an intangibles thing. Forget the numbers for a second. I love that against teams like the Braves, against teams like the Cubs, right, when they need some swings and misses, he's just like, I'm throwing right at you, Justin Turner. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm just going right at you at 100 miles per hour and you're not going to hit it. I think that says something. So even if the Robert Suarez regression comes in, maybe he's a 3.4 ERA guy. Like, it gets bloated. He has like a couple weeks that just bloats the ERA because you guys know how relievers are, but he's still going to be very effective in this bullpen. And the fact that you still have Jason Adam, the fact that you have Sean Reynolds coming back at some point, the fact that you have Yuki Matsui, who I think is awesome, gave up a home run last night, unfortunately, but whatever. Like I said, the ball's flying out of this place, so that's really not an insult to Yuki Matsui as far as I'm concerned. This bullpen, man, it's great. They locked it down on Monday's game. And then yesterday, while, yes, the story was Dylan Cease and all the injuries, they also kept the lead intact, right? Like, they absolutely kept the lead intact, and we saw it from not necessarily the 4 horsemen that I just mentioned, right? But you did get good performances from Alec Jacob, 2 innings in this one, just 2 hits. Yuki Matsui, like I said, the home run. Wandy Peralta comes in and gives you some stuff. Like, they still kept the lead down, right? It was just that Dylan Cease had a nightmare game and the rest of the Padres just exploded, right? Overall, I stand by my take. There's one thing that I have to stay with. One thing that I was like, I believe this will stay. Maybe, I don't know if they'll have the best bullpen in baseball, but this bullpen is so damn good, man. It is. I actually think that Wandy Peralta could be like low-key have a bounce back. Maybe he could just be a ground ball generator. And if he's like your 7th bullpen arm, I'm cool with that. Right? Like, I think Wandy, he can at least just be a little bit better. Not be awful the way that he was last year. Just generate some ground balls. And honestly, teams might be thrown off going up against Wandy Peralta. You got Estrada, you got Yuki, and sometimes I got to face off with this guy that just toys with you a little bit. I like it, man. I like it. So, really bad day for the Padres, but overall, I still think there's a lot of stuff to be happy about. And again, it's still way too early. Hopefully they can get the rubber game out of this set. If they don't, it's understandable given the fact that it's a Randy Vasquez start. Very curious to see how he does, though. He hasn't been bad, but it's not one of their ace pitchers. And we'll see with these absences on the offense. 3 major pieces, what they can put together. They're going to need stuff out of Jose Iglesias to step up. They're going to need, Oscar Gonzalez to step up. Gavin Sheets, hopefully he starts in this one since it isn't a lefty. And then, of course, Bogaerts, Arise, Machado. I think Arise is going to keep it up as well. And I think Bogaerts, I'm going to end on this. You guys are going to think I'm weird. He's the one that I actively, whenever I'm like, typing, maybe looking at some stuff, doing some research, and doing, frankly, some of my other jobs that I have to do, he's the one that I'm like, wait, I want to watch Javi. I'm like really keen to watch him. Obviously, I watch Tatis. Obviously, I watch the great guys, but him, I'm like, okay, wait, hold on, man. You know what I mean? I'm really looking into it. I want to see it. He was very aggressive last night. Jumped on some pitches. You know, sacrifice fly, one of them. Ripped a double on Monday. I'm not saying I'm hyped. I'm hopeful. And that matters, guys. But with that all being said, that about does it for today's edition of the Locked On Padres podcast, the only pod that may be better than the Padres themselves. Remember to subscribe to the wherever you get your podcasts from. Follow me on Twitter/X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO, and TikTok at Javios, JAVIOOS. Feel free to send me some questions and comments, and also get ready for Thursday. Get ready for Thursday's show. We'll be recapping the day game, of course, and then Friday's show, we're going to be doing a crossover in preparation for this Rockies series with my guy, Paul Holden of Locked On Rockies. So lots to look forward to, even if it was a satanic day for the Padres as a whole. But until that next time, stay safe, and of course, stay faithful. My Friar Faithful homies, take care.